Senator Glenn Sterle's come out swinging against the dodgy operators in the transport industry, putting them on notice that he's going to come after him and name him and shame him in the Senate. He started tonight, and here's a clip. Check it out.
Deputy President.
Senator Sterle.
Thanks, Acting Deputy President. My contribution, this will not come as a shock to you or myself, but I want to bring this to the attention of the chamber. Now, I'm going to quote from the Channel 9 news article. A truck driver by the name of Samandeep Singh was driving a truck in Melbourne, and he knew his brakes were faulty, but he drove on anyway before hitting and killing a Victorian police officer. And the report says that Singh, and I want to pay the greatest respect firstly to Constable Diane De Leo and her family and her loved ones. And in no way am I going to intend to single out Mr. Singh, but he was in charge of the truck at the time. He smashed into 45-year-old First Constable Diane De Leo's motorbike in suburban Melbourne as she was riding to work in January of 2017. Now, this is the worst part. This is the report that said, and I've watched the video on the internet too, that the truck wasn't roadworthy. Singh knew the rear brakes were not working and the front brakes were compromised because the vehicle was loaded incorrectly. The TV report from Channel 9 clearly said that the driver had no experience. He was a young 30-year-old man. I don't know what pain that poor fella's going through now. Obviously, he's in a very, very difficult position. He's in jail. He's been jailed for 4 years. We have not only the life of a constable on her way to work been snatched, but this young man's life, I don't know how he could put it back together. He's covered himself in tattoos to honour the police constable, the first constable that unfortunately he killed. Tattoos with her police number and the date of the accident. I mean, my God, the pain that must be going through a number of families because of this accident that should never have happened. And what pains me even more, Mr. Acting Deputy President, is you and I did a lot of work through the RAC Committee, the Road Safety Inquiry. And a lot of that work in the Road Safety Inquiry was channelled towards the poor conditions of a lot of our trucks, the vehicles on the road, heavy vehicles. Not only that, the corruption that we uncovered in training, we'll call it training, where unscrupulous ratbags had lied, cheated, stolen, done whatever they could to take money and fork out cheap, or not cheap, very poor training, and then have a connection where they could get these drivers their licences, and you know where it went from there. And 3 years later, Mr. Acting Deputy President, as the chair of the RAC Committee, I'm still waiting for the government to come back and respond to the report that we wrote, that you and I and other senators put the work into. Now, to go back to Mr. Singh as he was coming down the road, and I'll quote what he says. He said, "I started trying to brake from about 1 kilometre away." Now, as an ex-truck driver, this was a 12-tonne truck. I never drove 12-tonne, I was road trains. But 1 kilometre away, and the truck wasn't slowing down fast enough. He told a witness after the January 12 crash at a Wanturna intersection. The 14-tonne Isuzu truck, sorry, I said 12, it was 14-tonne Isuzu truck, a rigid truck, was owned by ERMS Transport, E-R-M-E-S, ERMS Transport. And they had a record of shoddy maintenance by an unqualified mechanic. I can't believe in 2020, I'm reading this even though the accident was back then. No, I can believe it, because there is no rules around in this nation to go after the root cause. The poor truck driver, when all is said and done, I say the poor truck driver because, as I said, the pain he must be going through. But the family of the victim don't wish any ill towards Mr. Singh, and that's a very big call. But can you believe the trucking company was not investigated? Now, I've Googled ERMS Transport. I've spoken to people in Victoria. I said, who the hell is ERMS Transport? But typical of this nation, you go on the ATSIC register. Oh, we can't find out who the name is. I can't find out who it is. You can't Google. There's no website for ERMS Transport. It was loaded. Whose freight were they carting? were they subcontracting to another transport company? And I'm not blaming that other transport company at this stage. I've got to highlight this. Or were they cutting directly for a client? When you lose, and we lose 1,200 lives a year in road accidents, and we manage to injure and maim another 30,000. But a young man's life has been completely ruined, and I don't know if he was forced to do it. I've got no idea. It pretty much sounds like it. But the owner of the truck has walked scot-free. How many other trucks does this company own? How many other employees have been forced or driving trucks that they knew work was done by a shoddy mechanic? Not my words, that's the quote in the report. How many other drivers were virtually told, just get in the truck and go? I can't believe that this trucking company, for all I know, could still be out there. They're still registered. That don't mean a thing. I mean myself, and I'm sending a message out to all Australian trucking companies. ERMS Transport, whoever that is, and there are sickos in this nation that get rewarded by changing their company name, and I'm going to save that because I've got a list of them. They're all going to get named in this Senate before I leave. Must be put on a do not use register. There is no way known that any decent man or woman in this nation would want to engage ERMS Transport. And yet the sadness is the police could not investigate that company because Senator Gallagher, you know, you and I can get wound up pretty good and pretty quickly. But under the chain of responsibility, now I'm sick of that crap, that chain of responsibility. How long have we been talking about this, Senator Gallagher? 30 years, the chain of responsibility. This was going to be the thing that fixes everything. What's it done? It's done 5/8 of stuff all. I think there's been four prosecutions. But ERMS Transport could be running around, the man who owns ERMS Transport or the manager that directed the driver to go out there and drive the unworthy truck, even though you've got a licence but you haven't been trained, you're not qualified. Where did the licence come from? How did that man get his licence? Who did this supposed training? Who passed him? How does this happen? But also to the owner of ERMS Transport. How you can sleep at night. I don't even know who you are, how many of you are, but to allow the man's off there, he's doing 4 years jail. A family have lost a loved one. And the police could not prosecute. This is just absolutely incredible. And what I'm trying to get back to is every time in this chamber and in Senate inquiries and all around this nation, alongside Senator Gallagher, we raise the issue of road safety all the time. And we say that it should absolutely be front and mind of all of us in this chamber and the other place over there. Deaths at work, in trucks or on the road should not be a price of doing business. Where is it in our psyche that it is wrong to crunch down on those that are doing the wrong thing when it comes to heavy vehicles or any vehicles on the road? Who in this chamber or that chamber thinks that it would not be right to go all the way down that rabbit hole and find out who the hell ERMS Transport are? And where are they now? And who were they carting for? And are they still carting? And where are the other employees, if there are? I don't think for 1 minute it was only one truck. I don't think that for 1 minute. Who would support that? No one. And yet, when Senator Gallagher and I raise all these road safety issues around an industry that us too, with the greatest of respect, Senator Gallagher and I, have forgotten more about heavy vehicles and road transport than anyone else. And that's not being rude. That was our background. That's where we came from. And yet every time we go to raise the issue of how qualified are our truck drivers? This is before we start, I'm not even talking about wage theft or anything else yet. How safe are those vehicles on the road? Now, the majority of the road transport industry, majority, not all of them, are very decent, hard-working men and women. But unfortunately, we have a minority, like the grubs at ERMS Transport, just one, and I'm coming back with more. And yet they can allow lives to be destroyed or taken away, and they can walk off scot-free. I can't think how annoyed the Victorian police would be about this. And there's another incident going on where other police were killed too. So I want to send the message, I don't know how many more times I have to say this. I cannot get it through the Deputy Prime Minister's head. He loves to have a photo taken with a high-vis jacket and a Kenworth with some bling on, and we love our truckies during the pandemic. Well, you know what? When is the Deputy Prime Minister going to answer or respond to that hard-done report that Senator Gallagher and I wrote 3 years ago?